good that you mentioned buzzwords, right? One of the buzzwords that is happening in the industry today is artificial intelligence. So whether it is artificial intelligence in creative or on media or on artificial intelligence funnels or XYZ, alpha, beta, gamma, are you really seeing any ground level work happening around it? Have you come across something that is working for you or has worked for you in recent past? Or is it still buzzword and the real sense is not trickled down, or the real execution is not trickled down to the advertiser as of now?
Let me first address the bigger elephant, which is AI going to take over and reduce the number of jobs? The answer is no.
Okay.
What digital did to marketing is what AI will also do to digital.
Okay.
All marketeers in today's time have had to shift to understanding digital because that's the way that's consumers' way of interacting with the brand.
Sure.
AI is going to be a huge enabler to all tasks. So things like prompt engineering, things like how do you use AI to make your jobs easier, is going to be the critical phase in the next phase for any marketeer.
Okay.
So if you look at content, if you're going to rely completely on AI to deliver the content for you, that is where you're going to lose the battle.
Okay.
But you can get about 70% of your research work done through AI.
Okay.
You can get AI to help you create at least all the base level work, and then the human intervention comes into play in order to make it more conversational, make it more attuned to your brand, make it more future ready. See, what is AI? It's essentially built on past data and creating something basis what you have asked for. So it can only do so much. It cannot do what your human mind can do. It cannot predict things for you. It can create a trend line for you in terms of, basis past data, what do you think it is going to do. But marketing is all about understanding the consumer, understanding the emotion, and figuring out where you need to take the consumer ahead. I am a big believer of what Steve Jobs built, and he always used to say that a consumer does not know what he wants. And if you leave it on AI, you will never be able to deliver a product like Apple, because AI is not going to build something that the consumer does not know. AI is going to build what consumer wants. So AI is going to be a huge enabler, but it's not going to replace jobs. And if you leave it completely on AI, at some point you're going to fall flat. And one of the big trends that I notice all marketeers follow right now is the herd mentality. Everybody wants to do what the other person is doing.
Correct.
And that is happening across everything. Trending topics. Now, the reason why they remain trending is because marketeers like us follow them. So just because it worked for one brand, why does 100 other brands have to follow? And I see most marketeers falling prey to it because somebody saw it and they said, इन्होंने करा है तो मेरे को भी करना है. Does it fit your brand? Does it work for your category? Do you need to really do it? Will it hamper your positioning? Marketers have stopped thinking. I think the reliance on originality has completely lost in today's time. And that's what AI is going to do if you don't use it in the right manner. So I would rely on AI for certain parts of building my strategies, but I would not rely 100% on it. And that will go for everything, even from a data analytics perspective. You can probably get AI to build data and structure it in a certain manner for you, but not use it for decision making.
So, is there something happening on the ground today?
I think people are working on it. If you really ask me, has it reached that stage where you can 100% rely on it? No. It is still more of a buzzword. It is helping build better models, yes. But I don't know if it is, we've reached a stage where we can completely rely on it. Some of the things that I've seen really fancy is Coke came up with a campaign last year where they asked creative folks to come and build their version of a Coke poster, for example, and you see some amazing work out there. I love one homegrown brand called The Whole Truth, and they used generative AI to come up with something called Truth GPT.
Okay.
So you ask anything food related and it responds in a very nice, quirky, conversational manner. So yeah, I mean, you do see some good stuff, but I'm honestly not too sure which way it's going to go. I would still, in terms of decision making, I would still rely on a human brain.
Interesting. Now, when you talk about data, right, and you said कि AI is going to build models around AI and data, and one of the other buzzword conversation is the entire conversation around CDPs, right? That is also a buzzword, yes, because a lot of companies are talking about it, a lot of companies are working on it. But what's your take on this entire conversation on the CDP ecosystem that is being created?
थोड़ा पुराना हो गया अब तो CDP.
हाँ.
So I mean, like, what is CDP? CDP is nothing but an evolution of our traditional CRM. So CRM was all about understanding consumers who transacted or interacted with the brand. CDP is one level up where you get a little bit more behavioral aspects of the consumer.
Correct.
In today's time, when obviously, like I said, you know, consumers' way of engaging with the brand is mostly digital in today's time, and what it helps you do is 2-3 things. One, it helps you understand the consumer a little better. When you understand the consumer better, your reliance on traditional research goes away. So rather than you relying on a offline research methodology where you are assuming that the consumer is being true in their responses, here it's an actual experience with the brand.
Okay.
So and traditionally I've never believed in research unless the intent of the research is just to understand what happened. But anything futuristic, any decision making in terms of building predictive models or building propensity models of what is the next possible interaction or engagement you will do with the consumer, or what next product he will buy from you, you can't do it on research. Here you're getting full behavioral analysis of the consumer, which you are able to marry with his transactions also. So CDP is extremely important. Again, the place where it falls off is most brands and organizations, they may not necessarily know how to use it, or in the first place, why do they want a CDP? Like we discussed on Gen AI, a lot of people will just say कि market में CDP चल रहा है, हमें भी CDP बनाना है. What will you do with it? How will you use it? Is extremely critical. For example, in a financial product, a lot of people end up adopting real-time CDP. Do you really need real-time CDP in a financial product? The answer is no. You need it more in, let's say, e-commerce or a product portfolio which has like 50 line extensions, where basis his current browsing pattern, you will probably change what is the recommendation in terms of the other product he should look at. So if I am looking at a sneaker right now, what are the relevant sneakers I can probably throw to him is the need for an e-commerce guy. But if I'm a financial brand and if I'm going through, let's say, a credit card, do I really need to show him 50 different credit cards? Because in a financial product, there are rule engines basis which whether you will be able to approve a product to him or not.
Correct.
So having that strength of knowing the customer and throwing him something is not really in your need, but you will end up adopting that primarily because that's the buzzword. And more often than not, you don't even know in the first place what do I want to achieve out of it. So I think before adopting any technology, I think the first thing you need to ask is, when I use this, what is the end outcome I want out of it? And what is the consumer experience that I want to give? A lot of times you end up creating or adopting technology which is going to only hamper consumer experience. Very simple small example would be, let's say,
That's a great insight.
if you've adopted, let's say, an A/B testing tool, and you think that you want to throw a pop-up banner to the consumer because he's not engaged. I see a lot of marketers, what they do is, because there are 5 features available, they'll use all 5 because I have paid for it, so might as well use it. And even before the customer has had any engagement with you, you will start throwing him 5 different experiences on the same platform, rather than allowing him to do what he came for.
No, that's a great insight. And I was talking to somebody earlier, right? Most of these platforms are like Swiss knives, right? But once you own them, you end up using it maybe for opening up packages and maybe for opening beer bottles, right? And rest of the tools are just there for the heck of it. But just because you bought it doesn't mean that you have to use it.
Yeah.
And you need to know what is the purpose of that Swiss knife.
Yeah.
But one of the challenges that happens with a lot of advertisers, and based on my conversations with them, is that they are also driven by these buzzwords, right? So who in the organization, as per you, is the one who is the guy who's the, maybe it's a position I don't know, maybe it's a person I don't know, but who's that one echo chamber or one sounding of box that you typically rely on to figure out whether we should be doing this or we shouldn't be doing this? How does that equation work for you?
See, I go back to 2 things. One is essentially, what is my business objective?
Okay.
And what is the consumer experience that I want to give? These are the 2 prima facie objectives basis which I decide, whether a technology is required or not. Am I 100% successful in deciding that? The answer is no, because I'm also part of an ecosystem where I'm answerable to somebody.
Yes.
And I will not necessarily have the last word. But my job at my level is essentially give relevant information and give that perspective to the leaders in terms of whether this is required, not required, relevant, not relevant, will it solve the purpose? Beyond that, it becomes difficult, and at the end of the day, I do have to at times back out and say that, because this is required for a certain purpose, we will end up doing it. But more often than not, they don't solve any objective. Those are adopted because they are buzzwords, and they are pushed down our throats, and eventually what it makes our life even more difficult, because it has been adopted, we also have to end up justifying it.
So that's a situation that no marketer would want to be in. But great insight. Moving on, if I was to ask Mohit Desai today, that Mohit, as a marketeer, what do you think are the missing pieces as a marketeer that, if given to you, will make you better at your job or your marketing objective, which you feel nobody comes and talks to you about? Whether it's an agency, whether it's your leaders, whether it's your subordinates. What are those couple of things, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, I don't know, that nobody, कोई उनके बारे में बात करने को राजी ही नहीं है, but ज़रूरी हैं वो conversations. Maybe they are hard conversations, maybe they are dumbfounded conversations, I don't know how to put it, but what are those things, 2, 3, whatever comes to your mind, कि यार ये अगर मेरे को थोड़ा और अगर मेरे साथ कोई conversation करे तो I'll become better at what I do?
See, I wear 2 hats, right? One is a marketeer hat, and second is a digital business guy's hat. And more often than not, what happens is you are never asked the right questions, or the right matrix is being spoken about.
Mhm.
So I think change in the quality of questions from the senior leadership and conversations are critical to me. So, for example, as a marketeer, uh, should the question be why did we not do an influencer marketing campaign, or why did we not do this trending topic, or should the question be what happened to the two critical matrix that brand should be evaluated on? That from a marketer perspective. From a business perspective, should the question be uh, why are we not on XYZ platform? Why are we not? Why are we spending so much on search, and why are we not on Meta? Or should the question be growth at a certain scale at a certain cost?
Okay.
Uh, and the day conversations with a marketeer changes is the day marketeer will be able to perform and deliver a lot better.
And same is the case with the business guy.
Absolutely.
So
Because
you're
more
saying-
often than not, when you are the business leader, you're going to ask your guy that, I did not see the ad. Are you the right TG?
Yeah, that's one of the most blatant questions that is asked by senior leadership most often or not. I didn't
Absolutely.
see.
Yeah,
I
and,
didn't
and and you'll end up saying things like, why are we spending so much on this platform? Why not that platform? Should I be asking that, or should I be asking that, why has your growth gone down and your cost gone up, or why has your cost gone up in spite of not giving scale? Rather than asking the right questions, I think we end up asking prescriptive things, which changes the goalpost for the marketer. Because then I'm not solving the business problem. Then I'm solving your problem, which you said that, why am I not on this platform, or why am I not running this campaign? And I will also have to justify it by saying that, I have to make that campaign successful because that was the ask.
So, interesting thing, you talked about in one of the questions that is asked here, influencer marketing campaign क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो? I have engaged with a lot of marketing guys, and they also talk about the same conversation, right? Here. And while I was looking at some of the influencer marketing plans and discussions around it, advertisers are willing to pay a very significant amount of what is the typical currency in digital advertising is CPM, right? Those numbers in some cases, in some of the influencer cases, very high. What's your take on this entire influencer marketing ecosystem? Has it worked for you in the past? Do you see it working for advertisers in the future? What's your take on it? Should advertisers be investing into this, and if yes, how? And what's your mechanics or your experience has been?
See, first of all, the nomenclature itself, it says influencer marketing. What is the job? It's essentially influencing a consumer to adopt something.
Correct.
Now, if you have to influence, who can influence? A subject matter expert. So, the way I look at influencer marketing is essentially in two fronts. One is I want to reach out to an audience which is niche. I am not able to reach out to him, so I will use an influencer who has expertise in that segment, and his following will help me reach to that segment.
Okay.
That is one.
Okay.
Second is, if I want to essentially just have I'm launching a new product and I want a significant reach, and I'm more of a mass product. That is the second scenario. The third scenario, which is a rarity, is it's more of a PR thing, where there is a mishap that has happened related to my brand, and I want to change the narrative to either soften the negativity or maybe divert it to a little more positive conversation.
Okay.
I would probably want to use influencers only in these three scenarios. Having said that, I would say majority of the brands use it for the fourth one, which is I have money and I have a campaign coming up and I need to use influencers also. which
So you're saying cookie cutter?
not even cookie cutter. It essentially is just when you create a campaign and you create a plan, you by default select 4 or 5 specific channels, and you'll say, okay, I'll do television, I'll do social media, I'll do outdoor, I'll do print, and I'll do influencer. It's become a by default addition to the media plan. So it's added as a row item, and later I will figure out how will I use it. Whereas if I want to, so for example, when I'm into a specific category, let's say finance being point an example, I will not use a lifestyle blogger. What I would want is, if I'm selling a specific product, I will identify which is the influencer who has expertise to talk about it, who will do their own research, and when his community is listening to it, there is certain amount of credibility and authenticity that comes along with it. If that is not happening, then what's the point of using an influencer? Because he'll not be able to influence, right? If I use a fashion blogger to sell an insurance product, do you really think that's going to work?
I don't know. I don't want to be the judge, jury, and
I'll come to the basics of marketing. Like, there are 3 people. There is a customer, there is a consumer, and there is an influencer. Not the influencer, marketing influencer, but essentially in the funnel, who's there? There's a guy who's consuming the product, there is a guy who's purchasing the product, and there is an audience who will influence you into purchasing that product.
Correct.
The influencer is more often than not going to be either a family or a friend or somebody who's an expert at that particular thing. Typically, we were just discussing before where your daughter has reached a certain age where she wants to go for higher education. So who will you reach out to? You'll reach out to somebody who knows about it. You will not reach out to your colleague who is probably right now 30-year-old, who has nothing to do with abroad education or anything for that matter, right? So you'll reach out to somebody who's either done that before or who can talk about it. Same goes in influencer marketing. If I am not going to if I'm not going to go to a guy who can actually talk about my product and have relatability with the right audience, then what's the point of doing it?
But Mohit, then this entire conversation gets flipped completely with your thought process. I know of companies that are saying that I am a let's say I'm a kitchen appliance company and I want to use a stand-up comedian to talk about my product, because he's the one who's getting watched. My product discovery is going to happen through him. Then what about discovery? Expertise, I understand. In that case, none of the celebs would ever get any work from an advertiser, because at the end of the day, when they endorse a product, there is some kind of a rub-off of their own brand and their followers, who tend to see that endorsement as an influence, at least on their mindset. But they are not experts. I'm sure they are not. But that's how the ecosystem works. But what you are saying is, if I was to apply that for discovery, then that flips, right?
See, again, like I said, if you're launching a product, you need the width and the breadth to have a certain amount of reach.
Okay.
Having said that, even in that scenario, you need to do it in a manner that he's able to connect better with his audience, and you're able to establish the product itself.
So you're saying the brand influencer's own ethos should have a rub-off on the brand that he's promoting.
Absolutely.
Let's say if somebody is into fitness, then even if you're talking about a food product, then it should have some relatability, and it should not be completely unrelated.
See, I will not get influenced if I don't think that the content I'm seeing is authentic.
So you're saying a fitness enthusiast should not promote sugary drinks?
Absolutely not. I will not, and it works both ways. Forget about the product. Even the influencer is losing his credibility. If he's a fitness enthusiast and if he's promoting a sugary drink, I, as a follower, am going to stop following him. because he's not being true to what his community stands for. There is a reason why I follow that person, right? I follow that person because he's educating me or he's entertaining me with something which he stands for. And if he's going to shift gears because of money, I'm going to stop following that person.
And then that's more of a personal choice, or as a marketeer, you think like that as
Both.
well?
If I can't uh, use the strength of a content creator to my advantage, it's not going to do anything good to my brand also.
Powerful thought. So, as far as ROI is concerned, right, do you see value proposition coming via the influencer ecosystem? Have you seen it effectively work for you?
Like I said, only in two scenarios. One, uh, where the product needs certain amount of education, which the brand is not. See, one of the biggest advantage an influencer has is his community has a certain amount of patience and trust. So when the creator is talking about something, the consumer or his community is going to listen to it at least for a little bit of while, and he will also have the opportunity to explain things. So at least last couple of industries that I have worked for, specifically in the financial space, it is important to have a little bit of education around it, where you are able to explain what it does to you, which your 15-seconder ad or a print ad or a static ad is not going to be able to do it. Which is where influencer plays a huge role in educating and establishing what your product stands for. Second is, it helps me reach to a community which otherwise I'm not able to. And third is, whether we like it or not, while most content creators right now are admitting it's a paid promoted ad, but when the community is looking at it, they look at it more from a non-biased advice. And it does bring in certain amount of credibility for the brand, and depending on who you associate with also.
Okay, okay, understood. I think that's a great way to look at the entire influencer ecosystem.